how that will happen. I have some friends here, they are not musicians, and maybe you are wondering who is Rachmaninoff, right? But he's very close to you guys, you know. I don't know, I'm pretty sure you guys know that song, all by myself, don't wanna be, so, yes. So, Eric Carmen, he took one of the second movement of the second piano concerto of Rachmaninoff. One of the verses he wrote based on this piano concerto. So he was he was inspired by this concerto. So, of course, you guys heard about the Rachmaninoff. And the other composer we are going to talk here is Tchaikovsky, who everybody knows is the ballet guy, right? Yeah, ballet guy. Okay, all right. So, okay, I will give a background about Rachmaninoff. Okay. So, Rachmaninoff was born into a family of talented amateur musicians. Rachmaninoff's father was an amateur pianist who used it to perform and entertain his friends. Elena, Rachmaninoff's old sister, introduced him to Tchaikovsky's songs. She was a noted singer, but had her career cut short by an early death. Another family member who supported his early interest was his grandmother, Lutakova. Rachmaninoff's first piano teacher was Anna Onatskaya, with whom he began lessons at age 9 in 1882. She convinced his parents to allow him to eventually study at the conservatory and to follow a musical career, and so became responsible for preparing him to entrance into the St. Petersburg Conservatory. In 1883, he was accepted into the piano class of Vladimir Demiansky at the conservatory, but continued his lessons for 3 more years at home with Onatskaya. In addition to piano lessons at the conservatory, Rachmaninoff also took classes in music theory, music history, and general subjects. Soon after he arrived there, his sister Sophia died in a diphtheria epidemic. This tragedy was followed by Elena's death in 1885. In the meantime, his parents' marriage suffered a rupture that may have contributed to Rachmaninoff's depression years later. In the fall of 1885, Rachmaninoff was accepted into the class of the famous and notoriously strict piano professor Nikolai Sergeyevich Zverev at the Moscow Conservatory, whereupon he left his home and the St. Petersburg Conservatory and moved to Moscow. Rachmaninoff's daily routine included several hours of practice under Zverev's rigid supervision. Rachmaninoff and other of Zverev's most gifted students lived at his house rent-free. He supervised their lives and interests. His students experienced the great cultural life in Moscow, attending plays, operas, and concerts. As a teacher, Zverev's main concerns were showing his students how to produce a beautiful tone, how to resolve difficult technical problems without tension, and how to project rhythmic clarity. On Sundays, Zverev frequently invited some of Moscow's top musicians, artists, and intellectuals to his home to hear student performances. Although he was still living and studying with Zverev, in 1888, Rachmaninoff began piano study at the conservatory with his very successful cousin and former student of Liszt, Alexander Zilotti, who originally recommended Zverev as a teacher. Later that same year, Rachmaninoff began harmony and counterpoint classes with Anton Arensky and Sergei Tanayev. As Rachmaninoff's passion for composition increased, Zverev unfortunately did not support this interest, believing instead that the focus should be on performance. The tension became such that Rachmaninoff was forced to move out of Zverev's house in 1889. They spoke again only after Rachmaninoff's graduation from the conservatory. Rachmaninoff took his piano final exams in 1891, coinciding with Zilot's resignation from the conservatory. 1 year later, he took his final exams in composition. During his final year at the conservatory, he wrote his Piano Concerto No. 1, as well as his required graduation piece, a one-act opera entitled Allegro. Allegro earned Rachmaninoff the Great Gold Medal, which had been awarded only twice before in conservatory history. Tchaikovsky was a big supporter of Allegro, and in 1893, the work gained additional prestige by being performed at the Bolshoi Theater. This effectively launched Rachmaninoff's career as a major composer. During the years of 1892 and 1893, he lived a very busy life as composer, concert pianist, and also conductor. Rachmaninoff's admiration for Tchaikovsky's work and for Tchaikovsky the person began early. In his early years at home, his sister Yelena would often ask him to accompany her in informal performances of Tchaikovsky songs. At Zverev's Sunday house concerts, Rachmaninoff often met his great idol. While studying at the Moscow Conservatory, he made a piano duet transcription of the Sleeping Beauty ballet score through a commission by Zilot. After his graduation, Tchaikovsky became not only a friend but also a professional mentor. In 1893, Tchaikovsky died at the age of 53 during a cholera epidemic in Moscow. His death was a shock not only for Rachmaninoff but also for the entire musical world. He lost not only a fatherly friend who had set him an example as a musician, but also a helpful, energetic patron of his young but steadily growing musical activities, a loyal supporter, and a faithful advisor who he needed badly for his first unsure steps into the great world of music. Zverev died only 1 month before Tchaikovsky, forcing Rachmaninoff to deal with the passing of two important mentors within weeks of each other. Upon Tchaikovsky's death, Rachmaninoff began to work on the trio Elegiaque No. 2, dedicated to Tchaikovsky, and especially molded on and inspired by the piano trio in A minor, opus 50. Tchaikovsky trio Tchaikovsky trio was completed in 1882 and dedicated to the memory of his close friend and colleague at the Moscow Conservatory, the pianist Nicholas Rubinstein, who died 1 year earlier. The work is comprised of two long movements, the second movement in 2 parts, a structural plan that directly influenced Rachmaninoff's trio Elegiaque No. 2. The first movement of Tchaikovsky trio is a sonata allegro form. The violin and cello operate more like orchestral support, as the piano writing is quite intense and virtuosic, almost concerto-like. This is a characteristic of Rachmaninoff's trio as well. Many specific technical similarities in the treatment of the piano between the two opening movements can be observed. In the examples, what are the examples?
You gotta go again. Press it again. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, in the examples, both composers employ block chord textures in rapid, virtuosic, alternating hands technique characteristic of solo concerto writing. Okay, even my friends, they are not musicians, they can see that's very simple, right? Look. Chords like, right? They're very similar, right? All right. The next.
Yeah, that's good.
The next examples. Note how each composer allows the string to carry the melody while the piano supplies accompaniment in ascending broken chord textures. So we have here the strings with this line here, right? And the piano, look how busy it is. And here in the Rachmaninoff, it's busy as well. And here the string line here, sing it like a melody. Okay? Not that busy. Okay. Both trios employ theme and variations formed in their second movement. Tchaikovsky's trio contains 11 variations. By contrast, Rachmaninoff's trio contains only 8 variations, but balances the overall structure by including a third movement. In each trio, the theme is characterized by a simple melody played by the piano alone. Okay, so we have the Tchaikovsky theme there, and as you can see, like it's almost the same, right? Rachmaninoff, if you look there, the line moving there, like the right, here, right, and then here, look, it's very similar. So this is it in both Tchaikovsky and Rachmaninoff. Okay. In the respective first variations, each composer adopts a piano texture, featuring running 16th notes as an accompaniment to the cantabile string lines. The third variation, this is so cool as well. It's a scherzoso setting, featuring string pizzicato chords and fast passage work in the piano, creating a wheat effect. Okay. Alright, so Tchaikovsky concludes his trio with a final variazione finale e coda at the end of second movement. Rachmaninoff instead writes a separate third movement, which includes a short coda that serves the same purpose. The main themes of the respective first movements are restated in a slow, mournful setting. Even with many similarities in the form, melodic style, rhythmic ideas, and other technical details between the two works, Rachmaninoff did not wish to merely copy Tchaikovsky's trio. Although inspired by Tchaikovsky's compositional techniques, he applied his own individual style and personality. Rachmaninoff began work on his second trio in October of 1893, the day Tchaikovsky died, and finished it 7 weeks later. Rachmaninoff describes his experience of writing the trio through a letter he sent to a friend in December. Earnestly, intensely, painstakingly. Okay, good. All my feelings and powers were devoted to it. I trembled for every phrase, sometimes crossed out absolutely everything and began to think about it all over again. So now, this part on my written document, I explain the main difficult passages for piano, and I will just show a few examples because it's something very for pianists, and it will be a little bit boring for you guys. So I will be very nice with you guys this night, and I will show just a few ones here. Okay, so yeah, interval of a tenth, this short section can be uncomfortable, although, as we know, Rachmaninoff's hands were very large and this posed no problem for him. So now I have to confess, I never played Rachmaninoff because I always was afraid of him, right? He was really a big guy, okay, with a big hand. He could reach like 13 keys, okay? And I'm a very small person, so yeah, so now I took courage and I'm doing this. Although, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Note that the composer complicates the life of the performer with the small hands by placing a third note in between the wide interval, a typical characteristic of his keyboard music in general. Okay, so for you guys to see, we have these two notes here, all right, and a third one. And this is really wide. I can, let's see, let me switch here. Okay, to avoid breaking the chord in performance, if the hand permits, it is helpful to place more weight on the top notes while stretching as much as possible. It may be necessary to experiment with different positions of the hand on the keyboard, moving into the fallboard over the black keys or moving out to the edge of the white keys. So, let's say go here. As you can see, I'm very here. To reach this one here, and this one I move to here to reach the other one. So all the time you have to do this kind of movement and spend as much as possible. So see, that's why we pianists we are crazy about to have a big hand and to try to open our hand. It's because of him. Okay. Okay, that's a fun one, like this one. The passage begins in measure 268, marks perhaps the dramatic climax of the first movement. It is the only instance during the entire work where Rachmaninoff employs the sforzato triple forte dynamic mark. The passage features block chords texture set in rapid virtuosic alternating hands tremolo technique, similar to a passage in the Tchaikovsky trio cited earlier, and also to a passage in Tchaikovsky's first piano concerto. The tempo pedal will help with the triple forte dynamic. The left hand should guide the phrase and both hands should voice the top notes in each chord. When moving from chord to chord, the hands should grip the notes firmly while applying light, short wrist strokes, maintain as much key contact as possible. So just a quick example would be this. The second movement is comprised of a theme and 8 variations. The theme is adapted from his symphonic poem, The Rock, but without its chromatic nuances. So as you can see, he took the melody from that solo there, from his another work. So it's very similar. It is presented in a simple pastoral chorale-like setting, much like the theme to the second movement in Tchaikovsky's trio. This movement projects a more hopeful tone with moments of lightness and tenderness after the darkness and intensity of the first movement. The third movement is the shortest, is intense and passionate and demands much strength and endurance from the pianist. It functions like a coda with material from the first movement being recalled. The intense and somber tone of the first movement, as well as its flashes of anger, return in this final movement. No. This passage, although it presents no new thematic material does project a distinctive idea in piano sound. The powerful chords and octaves played in the instrument's lowest registers sound almost like thunder, and individual pitches can't be discerned. This blustery passage, conveying rage and fury, precedes the final restatement of the opening theme from the first movement. I will not demonstrate this. This is a surprise for you guys. You have to know if it was a thunder. If it will not be, I'll be so disappointed. Okay. In dedicating his trio to his mentor and friend, Rachmaninoff used the same phrase that Tchaikovsky used earlier when dedicating his work to Nicholas Rubinstein, in memory of a great artist. It can be said that the trio is in some ways a summary of techniques and trademarks that he used throughout his life. The trio portrays various stages of Rachmaninoff's grief over Tchaikovsky's death. The first movement represents mourning, sadness, and isolation. The second movement conveys acceptance and feelings of hope combined with vivid memories. The third movement conveys a sense of anger, at times fiercely presented. His systematic training allowed him to channel his musical ideas effectively in expressing his unfortunate personal loss. In conclusion, the trio Elegiaque Op. 9 should be considered an important work in the chamber music repertoire, attractive for its passionate emotional content and noteworthy for the great technical demands and it places on the pianist. So, now it's done. This is done. I would like to, before we do our performance, I would like to share some words with you guys. You're only, I'm among friends here, so I really, I don't have words to thank Dr. Delon and Ms. Grimes for all their support that they gave to me during these 4 years. They believe in me all the time, and I'm here today doing this because of them, because without their guidance, I really, it would be so much more difficult. So I don't have words to say to them how grateful I am. And some friends could be wondering why I picked this piece, because it's kind of sad piece. So when I was 20, I decided I want to go to Germany, and I wanted to see, I want to study there, and I wanted to know the school that I wanted to study years later. So, and I remember this, on those times, very, like, almost 20 years? So, on those times, you couldn't know how the other world was. Like, I was living in Brazil, and you go to Europe, and I decided I wanted to go alone, and I couldn't speak German, German and English, and I remember my mom said, "But you cannot do this alone. Do you know, how are you gonna get trained? How do you go to this?" I had some friends living there, and how do you gonna get to their friend? Are they gonna pick up you at the airport? No, I'm gonna take the train. I'm gonna ride there. But you don't know how to sing. No, I'm going to. No, that's okay. Yeah. And then when I got there, I was the only CD. I received this CD with this music. The faculty there, they recorded this music, and I didn't know anything about this music, anything. And I just heard, and that touched me so deeply. And I thought, oh gosh, who knows? One day I will be able to play this piece. I thought it was so difficult on that time and so intense, and course, I wasn't mature enough to play that, but it was always my dream piece. And I thought was fascinating about this research is when I was 4 years old, was my first. I was watching a TV, and then suddenly start to have that ballet, the Swan Lake. And then I heard, of course, I was impressed with the movement of the ballet and all that, but I was so touched by the music, and it was, of course, Tchaikovsky. And then after that, I was always like, I went to ballet class, and I always knew Tchaikovsky songs, always knew the pieces, and I was always fascinated by him. Today, he's not my favorite composer, but he was the one that touched me that deeply with the classical music. And my first recital, I played the one of the waltz of the Sleepy Beauty. And I think that's so interesting that I finished this degree, the highest degree that I can get, right? With a piece dedicated to him. And another thing that was fascinating, Tchaikovsky, he dedicated his piece to Rubinstein, and then Rachmaninoff dedicated this piece to Tchaikovsky, and he was living the grief. And one of the, there's one person only here in the United States that that wrote a dissertation about Rachmaninoff, about this trio in particular. This trio. He was exploring, his approaches was completely different from mine, but then on acknowledgement, he wrote that he was dedicated his piece, his dissertation to his grandmother, who died when he began the dissertation. And by coincidence, when I started to do this work, this project, someone very special for me died as well, and that's a little bit creepy, but it happened. And all this time, you have been feeling the grief, and although he was very loved by my parents, my sisters, my husband, and we was very, very difficult. And although most of you don't know, although he was only a dog, he was my family here. So to not break the pattern here, I could say that he would be my great artist, but instead of that, we, Deborah, Thomas, and I, we would like to dedicate this performance to everybody here who lost someone special. And to them, wherever they are, we would like to dedicate this performance to them, human and pets, whatever. So this is for you guys, for someone who lost a very important person. Thank you.